So here's our last video on hyperbolas, minus any problems that we have on quizzes or homework or anything. So two more examples to go. I want to find the equation of this hyperbola. Well, right away, it's facing up and down. So I know I'm using the right portion of my little roadmap here. It's facing up and down. And boy, I have to find the equation, which means I need to find h and k, which is the center. I need to find a squared and I need to find b squared. I wasn't given any information in the sentence, so everything depends on what I see here. Well, I think I could find the center, right? The center looks, I guess I can assume it's right here, which is 3 comma negative 2. That's the center. And then also, I've got these two. These are the vertices. The foci are up here somewhere. The foci are C away from the center. I don't know what they are. I may not even need them, but the vertices are here, and the vertices are important because they're A away. And if this is the center, then this vertex is 2 away. In fact, both vertices are 2 away. So A is 2, which means A squared is 4. So I'm going lightning fast. I have h and k, which is the center, and I just found out a. So that means I know a squared. The only thing I need to find is b squared. So just by looking and thinking, well, of course, with some practice, getting comfortable with this roadmap, which means doing the homework, and looking at this graph, this is how far I've gotten so far. And I need to find b squared. How am I going to find b squared? Well, my first thought was maybe I could do c squared equals a squared plus b squared. I know a squared. A squared is 4. But I don't know b squared. Of course, that's the thing. If I knew b squared, I'd be done. But do I know c squared? C is the foci are c away, and I don't know either focus. So finding c is hard. I have this really ugly ordered pair, so I probably have to use this. This ordered pair is, of course, an xy value on the hyperbola, which means if I plug in 8 for x and rad 33 over 2 minus 2 in for y, then that should satisfy my equation. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to plug in 8 for x and rad 33 over 2 minus 2 for y, and that will help me find b. Now, this is intimidating. This might be really intimidating to some, but the only way you're going to get better is if you do hard problems to get stronger. If you want to build muscles, you have to eventually start lifting heavier weights, or so I'm told. So what I want you to do, pause the video, plug this into this equation right here, and use your algebra skills to find out what b squared is. I sincerely hope you did that. Let's unveil the mystery. So I plug in x, 8 for x, which right away your brain is probably already thinking 8 minus 3 is 5, 5 squared is 25. So eventually you're going to have a 25 right here. But this, now hopefully this doesn't scare you, because hopefully you can see some things are going to cancel out in your favor. First of all, the negative 2 plus 2 will cancel out. They cancel out, they become 0. And then you have a square root that is being squared. So those two things cancel out. So it goes from a lion to a lamb pretty quickly. 8 minus 3 is 5, 5 squared is 25. But here, the 2 and the negative 2 cancel out, leaving me with this squared. Well, that's just, they cancel each other out. So now it's 33 over 2 over 4. How do you do this? 33 divided by 2 divided by 4. Well, when you're dividing, you multiply these two divisors. So it would be like if you had a pizza and you cut it in half, and then you had to cut it up. You had to cut up that half into 4 equal parts. What you've basically got are eighths. You divided the half into 4 equal parts, so that's 1/8 of the total. So the short answer is you multiply these two. So it's 33 over 8. And now there are lots of ways to continue here. Remember, you want to find b squared. Well, maybe you might think, let's subtract 33 over 8. That's what I did. Subtract 33 over 8 on both sides. Don't drop this negative sign. And 1 minus 33 over 8, well, 1 is 8 over 8. So if I take 8 over 8 minus 33 over 8, I'm left with negative 25 over 8. And if you're not happy right now, you don't see it. What should you see? What are you looking for? We need to find b squared. Remember, see how close we got? All that's keeping us from our final answer is this b squared. And can't we see what b squared is right now? We don't need to know what b is. I don't need to solve anymore. I got negative 25 over b squared equals negative 25 over 8. Doesn't that mean b squared has to be 8? It absolutely does. B squared is 8. So I replaced b squared with 8, and I've got an equation. And that's exactly what I wanted to find. Last example. Find the vertices, find the foci, and the eccentricity of this hyperbola. Wow. So, first of all, remember all of our conic sections. We've got a parabola, a circle, ellipse, and a hyperbola. Parabolas, only one variable is squared. So that's not the case here. I got two variables squared. So it's either an ellipse, a circle, or a hyperbola. The ellipses and the circles have both the squares being added. So since I've got one squared minus another squared, that tells me that this is a hyperbola. But what kind of hyperbola? Is it one that faces left and right, so the x would come first, or one that faces up and down, where the y comes first? And here, the y comes first. The negative sign is attached to the x squared, so you're minusing the x squared, which means y would come first, which means we would just ignore the left side right here. So I need to make this look like this, because if I can make this look like this in standard form, I can pluck out all the information I need to find the vertices, the foci, and the eccentricity. So I got to complete the square twice, which means adding, first of all, reorganizing all my information. I want to get all the y's together. So I just switch these two. This negative 50y goes over here, and this negative 9x squared comes over here. I add 281, and now I had to factor out this a value, not the GCF, my friends, not the GCF. That's 25y between these two. I just want to take out 25. And that leaves me with negative 2y. And here I take out the negative 9, and that leaves me with plus 6x. And I complete the square. So half of negative 2 is negative 1, and if I square that, I get 1. Half of 6 is 3, and if I square that, I get 9. But how do I keep the balance? When I put a 1 here, how much did what did I actually do? I actually added 25 ones. So that's 25. So I need to keep the balance. I wrote down a 9 here. What did I actually do? You subtracted 9 nines, which is subtracting 81. So you have to subtract 81 on the other side to keep the balance. And then you factor, you add these up in your calculator, you divide. Now we divide by 225. The 25 cancels out, leaving you with 9 in the bottom. And this 9 cancels out, leaving you with 25 in the bottom. Whew. So we've made this equation look like this through lots of heavy lifting of algebra. I forgot what I needed to find. The vertices, the foci, the eccentricity. Okay, well, the vertices are a away from the center. And now I know the center. The center is negative 3, 1. And the vertices are a away from that center. This is a squared. A squared is 9, so a is 3. And since this one is facing up and down, I need to go 3 up and 3 down from this center, and that will be each vertex. So when you're saying up and down, you are thinking y values. So add 3 to 1, that makes the y value 4. Subtract 3 from 1, that makes the y value negative 2. Don't forget, they're definitely ordered pairs. The foci are C away from the center. And I don't know C, but C squared equals A squared plus B squared. And I know those. So C squared equals 9 plus 25, which is 34. So C is rad 34. And the foci are rad 34 away from the center, up and down, since this one's facing up and down. So I need to add rad 34 to 1 and subtract rad 34 from 1, which gives me this, negative 3, comma, 1 plus rad 34, and then 1 minus rad 34. The eccentricity, remember, is the ratio of C to A. So it's just C divided by A, and that's the easiest thing right now because I know C is rad 34, and I know A is 3, so it's just rad 34 over 3.